Recording is in progress. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We are delighted to be a part of the Kane County Safe Travel for All presentation this evening. We are joined by a variety of Kane County employees, Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, or CMAP folks, and of course, members of the public this evening. So this presentation is intended to share information with the public about Kane County's newest safety initiative called a Safety Action Plan. And what we're hoping to do throughout the entire planning process, and tonight especially, is to get feedback from members of the public on our existing initial safety findings. As I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, this meeting is being recorded. To listen in Spanish, para escuchar en español, selecciona interpretación down at the bottom, and there's more instructions in the chat. Please note that we value your feedback at any time during tonight's meeting. We're going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in, but we are going to try to reserve them towards the tail end of the meeting so we can have more of an informal dialogue with you all. You'll note down here at the bottom that there is a chat button, whether it's at the top of your screen or the bottom of your screen. It depends on your device. You can put in your questions there. So my name is Jordan Roglowski. I am going to be one of your presenters this evening, and I'll kick it over to Jackie, who can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jackie Henriksen, and I'm a multimodal planning lead at Lochner, and I'm one of I am the deputy project manager, so one of the members of the consultant team on this study. So yeah, looking forward to hearing your thoughts tonight.
Thank you, Jackie. And I should introduce the organization I'm with. I'm with Metro Strategies Group. I'm also part of the project team and helping KDOT and CMAP with outreach and engagement for this very important project. So what are we going to be talking with you about this evening? So we're going to start off with an introduction about what this project is, why it's important. We're going to talk about how we're going to continue to engage with members of the public and important agencies throughout the county as part of this project. We're going to dig deep into those initial safety findings. We're going to talk about next steps. And as I mentioned, we're going to answer your questions, what questions you have, and you'll be really excited to hear from you folks. So what is this project? What is Safe Travel for All? What is a safety action plan? So a safety action plan is the technical term for a roadmap that is going to be improving traffic safety with the goal of reducing the risk of serious injury and death on county roadways. Why does the county need a safety action plan? Well, to put it simply, traffic deaths are on the rise. So the Kane County Division of Transportation, or KDOT, is working with the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, or CMAP, to put together this safety action plan. Jackie, I will hand it over to you for some of the data.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. So this topic that we're studying is really important right now as traffic fatalities are increasing all over the country, including northeastern Illinois. So this graph here is showing how this trend has been increasing since 2014. Next slide, please. And traffic fatalities are really an equity issue. And we're seeing that they have a disproportionate impact on people of color. As shown in this graph here, Black individuals have the highest rate of traffic fatalities. And in terms of where crashes are happening in Kane County, what's interesting is that we're seeing that 4.7 is the rate of crashes on municipal roads, which is interesting in that oftentimes this rate is higher on state or the bigger toll roads. But here we're seeing 4.7 on municipal roads. And one of the focus areas of safety action planning is often speed. So speed is often one of the greatest factors in terms of fatal crashes, especially for pedestrians and bicyclists. So this graph here shows that when a pedestrian is hit at 20 miles per hour, the rate of fatality is only 5%, but then that jumps to almost 50% at 30 miles per hour. And then 40 miles per hour, the rate is at 85%. And this is really significant in that a lot of the roads in the county and around the region do have those higher speeds, or or traffic is traveling at higher speeds, even if posted speed is lower. And so there is this great source of funding out right now called Safe Streets and Roads for All, which I'll refer to later on in the presentation as SS4A. And this is a funding stream through the US Department of Transportation. And it's all about the development and implementation of safety action plans, which the plan that we're working on today is a safety action plan for Kane County. And why this is being pursued is that in order to get this SS4A funding to actually implement projects and to construct these projects, the county and the municipalities need to have a SS4A safety action plan in place. So this grant funded plan is going to basically position the county and municipalities for pursuing this funding source as well as other funding sources in the future. So Kane has completed some safety planning work. So Kane has worked with a consultant in terms of looking at systemic issues on county roads. And some of the systemic issues identified is that stop sign intersections in rural areas have concerning crashes. Also that major east-west roads have unsafe speeding and cars veering off the road crashes. And narrow shoulders create issues for speed limit enforcement as there aren't safe places for officers to pull vehicles over. And most of this progress is related to county roadways, and the county has used these findings to pursue highway safety improvement program funding. And then here is a list of some of the other countywide, local, and regional previous safety efforts in Kane County, from comprehensive plans to long-range plans. CMAP has a regional comprehensive plan as well. And then also some more localized studies, such as Randall Orchard Bus Rapid Transit Study. And the county also last year completed a bicycle and pedestrian plan. And then, so the state of Illinois Department of Transportation, they also have a strategic highway safety plan. So this plan also has the goal of eliminating all fatal and serious injury crashes on all Illinois roadways. And they're looking at doing this through design, traffic operations, changing behavior, enforcement and education programs, enhancing emergency response times. And the Kane plan will align with these findings from the state plan. So the goals of the county safety action plan is that we will be identifying low cost and high impact solutions, looking at investment in the safety needs of disadvantaged and underserved communities, specifically those who haven't had as many transportation improvements traditionally. And it will also support equity, climate, job creation, and economic strength. And the benefit is that it will provide opportunities for future funding, really help the county and municipalities pursue that funding as it becomes available, and also help communities plan for the changing landscape of transportation. So this is a timeline. So the project started in spring of 2024. And right now we are in the midst of an existing condition safety analysis. So we're still in the early stages. We haven't developed any recommendations yet, but we'll be getting there later on this fall and winter. And throughout this whole engagement process, we are going to have community or public outreach opportunities for everyone to weigh in. And I'll turn it over to Jordan to talk more about those engagement opportunities.
Thank you. I was finding the unmute button. That was a great segue, Jackie, into the importance of you all, the importance of why you're here this evening. So there are a variety of ways to get involved besides joining us at virtual meetings. First and foremost, we have a project website. I'll be dropping that in the chat in a little bit so you can explore a little bit more in detail what this safety action plan all involves. Some upcoming events will be posted there, and you can subscribe to updates to hear from us after this evening. I will say there is a survey as well as an interactive map that you can see on the website where you can really drill down and tell us by putting a pin on the map where the problem areas are that you're seeing here in the community. And we'll talk more about them later this meeting. And also take a survey, which is more of a written format of some of the outcomes and results you want this this plan to achieve. I'd like to invite you all to our first pop-up event for this project. It will be on Sunday, October 13th at the Abate Toy and Food Run at Sycamore Speedway. It is in the afternoon. We're still firming up some times. More information will be coming out on the project website. But Abate, if you're not familiar with it, is a community organization that is primarily of motorcyclists. And so this is a key group that we'll be looking forward to hearing from and engaging with. But of course, as I mentioned, everyone is welcome to join. And of course, it's a wonderful cause for toy and food collection. In the next few months, we're going to be having some open houses throughout Kane County. We'll be sharing more information on the website as those are firmed up. We do have a steering committee, which is comprised of local government agencies throughout the county, community organizations like Abate, advocacy groups, and more. And then last but not least, we're looking at the horizon more so into spring of 2025. We're going to be having an interactive roadway safety demonstration that will be showing some of the key, the importance of roadway safety as the name implies. And Jackie, I will hand it back over to you for initial safety findings.
All right, thank you, Jordan. So now I'm going to talk about some data findings and I'm going to try to keep it as condensed as possible. That way we can turn it over to you to ground truth these findings that we're seeing just from looking at the data. So we're going to point out some interesting statistics that we are seeing as we're going through the countywide analysis. So what we're seeing is that 7% of all collisions that result in a moderate or severe injury or death involve people walking or biking, but only 3% of county residents commute to work by walking, biking, or taking transit. And we see this as really significant is that these two percentages don't line up, and there is a disproportionate impact of serious crashes happening to people who are on foot or biking. And then just to drive in the point even further, so this graph here is showing collisions resulting in fatal or serious injuries or moderate injuries, and 77% of these crash types for crashes involving a pedestrian or a bicyclist result in an injury or fatality, whereas that number is only 14% for motorists. So again, we're seeing a disproportionate impact for if you're choosing to walk or bike and are involved in a crash. From an equity perspective, we're also seeing that so here where this graph is showing that low income census tracts, they are shown in the map in blue. They're home to about only 13% of the county's population. However, 32% of pedestrian and 34% of bicycle crashes occurred in these areas. So this means that pedestrian and bicycle crashes are happening more often in disadvantaged areas. And then another interesting statistic is that we're seeing that 70% of all walking and biking collisions that result in a injury or death occur within half mile of a Kane County school. We're still looking closer into the data, but we are, as a part of this project, we are going to look very specifically at younger drivers. And, this could be attributed to potentially younger drivers in the area, more people walking or biking around schools, distracted driving. So we're going to dive deeper into this topic, especially. So we've conducted a countywide analysis so far of the crashes and what we're seeing. So we're seeing that the greatest concentration of crashes are happening in Aurora and Elgin, but then we're also seeing crash hotspots around Carpentersville, Batavia, Geneva, and St. Charles. And then some of the top corridors for crashes, Randall Road, probably not a surprise, but also some of the more rural roads like Plank Road. And then, of course, we're seeing crash hotspots around the interstates as well. So when we look at count of crashes alone, so which intersections have the highest number of crashes, we're seeing that it's really concentrated more in the cities and the denser population areas to the east. And then next slide. But then we do understand that rural areas are also an area of concern. So when we look at crashes in those areas, we're seeing that a lot of them are happening more in the northwestern portion of the county. And this is significant in that a lot of these crashes involve very high speeds and are serious. So we are also looking at crash causes in Kane County. So the graph on the left is showing the top crash causes in terms of all crashes. So looking at not only property damage, but also injury and fatalities. So in that instance, we're seeing these are the top 5. And then the graph on the right, those are the top causes for fatal and serious injury crashes. And then the bolded ones, which are roadway departure, younger driver, and speeding, those are the 3 that we're seeing both when you look at total crashes and then also just looking at fatal and serious injury crashes. So we're also looking, we understand that the county has many different contexts, anywhere from more rural, from more urban areas such as suburban downtowns to more suburban areas to rural. And so in urban areas, we're seeing that the crash causes are cars hitting pedestrians, turning right of way, crashes, disregarding traffic signals, and not wearing a seatbelt. And so this is an area in Aurora. And then next slide. And then also just for context, here is an area in downtown Elgin. So same crash causes. And then Elgin. So that's what we're looking at right now, seeing as a general trend. These are the crash causes that we're seeing in downtown areas. And then in terms of suburban areas, we're seeing that the crash causes are most often speeding, distracted driving, and left turns at signalized intersections. So here's Randall and Hops roads in Elgin. And then this is a street, at a neighborhood street outside of Carpentersville. And then this is an example of a bike lane on a mixed use street in Kane County. And so, yeah, these are trends that we're seeing across suburban areas. And then in terms of rural areas, one that is really rising to the top, as I mentioned before, is Plank Road. And some of the crash causes that we're seeing in general across rural roads in Kane is speeding, drivers leaving the roadway and weather. And so here is Bose and Nestler roads in Plato. And then Hunters Hill and Browns roads in Campton Hills. And so again, these are crash causes that we're seeing across rural roads. And people are still, as we see in this photo, walking, biking. So improvements for all modes are needed in these areas. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jordan to hear your input.
Thank you, Jackie. As Jackie said, here is where we want to hear from you. This is an interactive portion of tonight's meeting. For those that are not familiar, we're going to be using what is called a Mentimeter or menti.com presentation. I know we're on devices right now, but if you have a cell phone handy, you can scan the QR code here at the left, or if you go to open another browser here on your device and go to menti.com and enter this code. I'll give us a couple seconds to get that going, and then I'll switch screens over and we can get started. But what we're going to do through Mentimeter is we're going to ask a series of questions where you can share with us your input and your thoughts if you agree with these initial findings and what you're seeing where you work, live, and play. So I'm going to stop sharing the presentation one moment and then pull up our Mentimeter. And then it will also have that code again. So if you are a little slow like me to write things down, we'll share that with you in a second. While I get that going, I also popped in the chat the link to the project website. So if you are curious after tonight's presentation, like I said, we invite you to look at that project website, sign up for updates to keep this conversation going. So one second. All right, Jackie, if you can let me know if you can see our Mentimeter here, that would be great.
Yes,
Jackie
yes, I
is
can see
giving
it.
me a thumbs up. So again, please use the code up at the top. And it looks like we've got some 5 folks that are joining us as part of that. And we'll be checking the chat to see if you have any questions. And I just got a good question. I will type the Mentimeter information, menti.com, in the chat here. And so you can copy and paste the code. There you go. All right. So our first question for you folks is hopefully it's yes, but do these initial findings that Jackie presented with us align with your perception of what's happening in your communities where you work and traveling through the county? Give you a couple moments to respond to that. Looks like we have 5 folks here in the Menti, and all 5 are saying yes. That is good to hear. We're gonna delve into it in the next slide. So Jackie shared with us all this evening kind of the main priorities of this project, but what are you most specifically interested in having the project team investigate? Are there certain areas, are there certain elements of roadway safety that are most important to you? If so, this is going to be a word cloud, so if, for example, I don't want to influence anyone, I wanted to say intersections. I'm concerned about intersections. And we see intersection getting bigger and bigger and bigger on the screen. That means that more people are agreeing with you. So we're seeing more bike lanes. I'll give folks a couple minutes to write. And as we're going through this, I invite members joining us to either raise your hand or feel free to unmute if you want to elaborate a little bit more on what you've put on here. I am Oop, it's moving around a little bit. For those that have put more pedestrian paths and bike lanes, I'm curious if you're interested in more just kind of overall or specific roadways. We'd love to hear your thoughts if you are comfortable popping it in the chat or unmuting. I will say for more pedestrian paths and multi-use paths, Kane County is also conducting a phase 1 study for along Randall Road, which is a highly trafficked road, as we all know here in the county, that is investigating ways to provide additional connectivity. So that's just one of the many efforts that the county is already doing to improve multimodal transportation and safety. So I think we're getting a lot of folks' answers are in here. We're seeing speeding several times here on the screen, obeying rules of the road, and some enforcement. I will say we are working as part of the steering committee. We have the Kane County Sheriff's Office, which is part of that committee, like I said. So we're working hand in hand with other agencies to see what problem areas they're seeing as well. Okay. Jackie, do you have any questions about any of the findings here before we move on?
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, like I just invite anyone if they have specifics on like stripes on the road, specific location with the speeding issues that you're seeing, or let's see, there was another one. Yeah, and like you said, like safer routes for pedestrians and bicyclists. There was also one, I think, bicycle speeding. I'd be curious to hear more about that too. So again, like if you know you don't want to unmute yourself, feel free to drop it in the chat. Any specific locations would be super helpful.
This is Jackie from Kane County. I made the comment about speeding on bicycles really because I hear Mayor Shelkey from Batavia talk about this frequently as an issue in his community. Folks who, particularly with e-bikes, because they can get at higher speeds, they have had some crashes with folks. And I know that the Forest Preserve District is putting together a campaign to remind people that they do have a speed limit on the road, their bicycle paths, but I think it's something that can, we could possibly address as part of this project as well, how we could remind people and that they cannot ride their bikes or e-bikes over 15 miles an hour on our paths.
Thank you, Jackie.
It's Billy Dree. I'm the one that put in more traffic circles specifically, but it was known to put it in replacing four-way stop signs.
Mm-hmm.
I applaud the county for introducing traffic circles in the last 6-7 years. Do more, do it fast. Much safer than four-way stop signs once people get used to it. I know you always get people saying it doesn't work, that they are not safe. It's just a matter of getting used to it. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. Keep doing it. Carl is doing a good job in that initiative.
Absolutely. Thank you, Louis.
Okay. I think that we have a lot of feedback here. Oh, I am looking in the chat. We have someone, and I'll read it out loud if that's all right. Out in the rural areas, and Randall Road needs center line and shoulder stripes. They either are not there or need repainting. So thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. We certainly want to have those visible on the roadway. All right. Just because I'm going to the next slide doesn't mean you can't keep sending it here in the chat, but thank you for sharing your thoughts with us for this. So another question for you. This is multiple choice. We are very curious to hear from you. Which roadway users do you feel are the most at risk in Kane County? So we have a couple options here on the screen: motorists, motorcyclists, pedestrians, bicyclists, transit users, truckers or freight, or other. If we have inadvertently missed a group of travelers here. Right, as everybody is putting their answers in, yes, pedestrians and bicyclists, that would heavily support some of those initial and scary statistics that Jackie shared earlier in the presentation, just underscoring the importance of the safety action plan and efforts for those types of travelers. Motorists, yes, absolutely, and for the individual that put other, I don't want to call you out, but we are curious. If you want to pop in the chat or feel free to unmute too. What other types of travelers specifically should we be paying attention to as part of this evaluation process? All right, thank you. Here in the chat, the other this attendee had said for people that don't pay attention, certainly understandable, and that again supports some of the feedback that you shared with us on the previous slide. People who are just not aware of their surroundings. So thank you for sharing that. So perhaps one of the biggest questions of this evening, what is the biggest traffic safety issue in your community? And this is a free response that you can type it out. So I'll be patient, although I'm interested to see what our responses will be. And you can enter it more than once too. I would be remiss if I said that. You can put multiple too. Looks like distracted driving is a very big issue. Very big issue. And and perhaps while we're letting other folks put their answers in, if you're seeing specific types of roadway users, if it's an age group, if it's younger drivers, for example, let us know as well. We would want to drill down as best as we can, or if it's driving in the sense where you have, like as Jackie from the county mentioned, perhaps folks that are on an e-bike or a scooter that are not paying attention as they're driving along. That'd be helpful for us to know. Left turns. And with that too, I'd also, ask if are you seeing left turns at signalized intersections, at areas that don't have a signal, that have a yellow flashing arrow? That'd be helpful for us to know as well. Minor stop control intersections. And then I'm going to just scroll down a little bit so we can get this full comment here. Turning left on 47. There are no signals and lots of trucks with low visibility, many young drivers, and due to the high school location, traffic has gotten too busy to have no signals. Thank you. That's very, very detailed. Real curves. Drivers who don't care about people walking or biking. I also see something here in the chat that someone says that most of the roads in King County do seem safe. So that is good. We do want to hear about the things that are working well as part of this too, not just the areas that might need a little bit of improvement. And Jackie, while I keep looking at the chat and making sure that I'm getting everything, please let me know if you have any questions or follow-up questions for any of the responses here. Although we do have a couple clear patterns here.
Sure, yeah. And to your point, Jordan, like if there is anything that is working well in the county that you think could be replicated elsewhere, we'd like to hear that too. And yeah, this is great feedback. Yeah, the specific feedback on near Caneland High School, also rural curves, very, very interesting feedback. Students walking to school. Yeah, any more details like specific schools where you're seeing this as an issue or maybe crossings. And if anything comes to mind later on too, like specific areas that you'd like to point out, we do have, or I believe it's either live or almost live, an interactive map where you can put your comments on specific locations.
Yes, Jackie, you are correct. That is on the project website that I popped in the chat, where you can not just do locations, but there's options for saying, I like this, or we need to improve that here. And then we have another comment here in the chat. Pedestrians and bicyclists need to wear visible clothing. They aren't seen until you are very close. That is a very good point as well. Okay. And then last, what additional outcomes would you like for the study to achieve? We talk about specific areas of concern, elements of roadway users, but what are your hopes and dreams, for lack of a better way of saying it, as part of this safety action plan? And again, you can enter multiple responses here on the screen or in chat. Yes, absolutely. Traffic moving safely and at a steady pace. Funding for projects, yes. And as Jackie had mentioned, this safety action plan will help the county be able to apply for additional funding in the future to make these initiatives a reality. You're looking for specific proposed improvements, including the price tag. Yep, that's important to know. How much are these going to cost? Ideas on how to lower speeds that go beyond enforcement. And just as we're wrapping up some thoughts here, just wanted to underscore what Jackie had shared earlier. Another outcome or goal that this plan is wanting to achieve is just making sure that we continue to reach those that have been underserved or not engaged with as much in the past, those most vulnerable groups that we have here in the county. So I think that's one of the top priorities for CMUP in the county as well. Safe walking to the bus, absolutely. And I see something here in chat. Lou, I see flashing yellow arrows for left turns on Randall Road are good initiative, but you need to invest in driver education. Many still don't understand. Thank you very much for that comment too. Just as needing driver education on roundabouts, traffic circles, education is key. And this one kind of speaks to that as well, outreach for new drivers and drivers education programs. Okay. I think we've gotten a lot of wonderful feedback from you folks this evening, and not to sound like a broken record, but if you have thoughts that you think of something outside of this meeting, in a little bit, we're going to be sharing with you our contact information. You can please at any time get in contact with a member of the project team and we can continue this conversation. So I am going to stop sharing the screen. One moment, please, and I'll go back to our PowerPoint.
And also as Jordan's transitioning there, I will just say again, if later on any specific locations do come to mind, we'd love to hear them again in the interactive map, or there's also going to be a survey. And one of the results, someone had mentioned actual, recommendations specific, like one of the results of this plan is that we're going to propose specific corridors and intersections that the county and municipalities can focus on for these improvements and pursuing that grant funding. So one piece of it is the data analysis, but another important piece of it is the input from those who work and live in the community. So yeah, so we'll ground truth what we're seeing in the data with what we hear from you all.
Thank you, Jackie. You always tie it in so nicely with what we have. So as Jackie had mentioned, what are the next steps for you all today? So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, please join us on Sunday, October 13th. It is going to be in the afternoon. Like I said, please stay tuned to the project website that I linked in the chat for specific times. This will be at Sycamore Speedway. We're going to be sharing information with you about open houses that are going to be at some of our municipalities in person. If you want to meet us in person, sign up for email updates through the website. And as we mentioned a couple times, please take the website survey and place pins on the interactive safety hotspots map so we can drill down to those exact locations in that interactive map. So I mentioned here's our contact information. I'll be sharing slides and information with you folks after the meeting, so no need to frantically write that down, but feel free to reach out to any of us. All of us have J names here. Jen Maddox, who is with us this evening, you can reach out to them at any time. Jen is with Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. Jackie, who introduced herself earlier, is with the Kane County Division of Transportation, and then there's me at any time. I'm helping with engagement here at this project. Right. So before we get to the open-ended question answer, I will say as part of this effort, we are wanting to make sure that we're connecting with as many diverse groups of residents, business owners, anyone in Kane County as possible. And so in a few moments, I'm going to be dropping a link in the chat that will be asking some personal information. As not you're not obligated to respond to that if you don't feel comfortable. All the information that we're looking for, like I said, is just purely to make sure that we're reaching out to as many groups as people as we possibly can. And you can win a $100 gift card. Your chances are higher if we have less people participate, but that's not what we want. So I want to underscore we will not share your information with anyone or send you any type of spam or anything like that. So be popping that in the chat before this meeting concludes. So I'm going to turn it over to you folks. We talked a lot throughout the presentation through the Mentimeter engagement portion of the meeting, some specific questions, but what lingering questions do you have? What can we help you with today? We budgeted until 7. It's taken a little bit less time, but we will be here for as long as you need to speak with you. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can put that link in the chat. One moment. And if you don't have any questions or anything like that, we don't want to keep you on this nice Tuesday evening. But like I said, you should be getting an email from me either probably first thing tomorrow with that contact information and that with information that we discussed this evening. And the website, I'm going to put it in chat one more time. Thank you for asking. There you go. Okay, unless anybody has any questions, thank you again very, very much for joining us this evening. We highly value your inputs, and the conversation doesn't stop here. So thank you all and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.